to the clouds. Islam. So what I want everybody to know is this is the first class since a couple of months for class assignments. Obviously, this is Yeshua Akasha El Rosbey, Moroccan national um, of a Moroccan state within the territories of Pennsylvania. But I'm not going to get into my political affiliations. I'm going to get into what needs to be discussed in this on this platform, and this class will be uploaded onto YouTube. So, because I think this is important for everybody. The mission for Yeshua Mobile Star Academy, which is YeshuaMobileStarAcademy.com, is changing lives one mind at a time. In order to change your mind, I must give you knowledge. You need knowledge. Our people are not suffering from discrimination. They're not suffering from being a Black person. They're not suffering from your color complexion, the light skin, dark skin, the male versus female. They're not suffering from any of that. What our people are suffering from is ignorance of what it is we should have been doing that everybody else have been doing. Nationality. And even though we thought we were on this process and on this navigation, we really weren't. Because the people who were training us and teaching us the fundamental things that we needed to be taught was excluding the most important part, our Moroccan treaties. And I'm going to ask this question. And in the background, I have meditation music playing to make sure the frequency stays in a certain level, so you can receive the information that is being imparted on you or imprinted on you. Our problem is not racism. The Albions are only our problem because we make them our problem. Because we focus on them as opposed to focusing on each other. What do I mean when I say that? There are people talking about secure party creditor, UCCs, trusts, and even I can't remember the other process, but we're talking outside of the situation and outside of the process. And overstand Moors, people who look like you, who act like you, who associate in the same circles as you, are put there and are paid to lie to you. That's all of those other processes. I'm talking about 1099s. I'm talking about all of these things, because within that system, the United States of America system, you are considered a protege. That is the international term of those individuals within a certain jurisdiction that don't have an identity or a culture or a status. You're considered a protege. And what a protege is someone protected under a jurisdiction that is not of their own and clothed with privileges, not necessarily rights, unless you know them. Because if you do not know your rights, you do not have them. So you can't act like you have something for which you've never claimed. Islam?
Islam. Islam.
So a lot of the people are not going to tell you what you need to know, because like a lot of our elders who've been talking about
hear that, I'm gonna let you know what it means.
What means?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had my microphone. I mean, I didn't have it mute, but the definition of Islam. So I was just
I self-law and master?
Yes, yes, sister.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can
Noble
only be
sister.
master of self if you know who you are. If you don't know who you are, someone else is controlling your narrative.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I know what Islam means. Let me tell you guys, I've been in this for a while. I'm going to create a novel. I'm going to create books, volumes, because this information needs to be imprinted on you. And even if until I can create, because there's a school that's going to be established, there's so many things that are in the pipeline. So don't give up. Don't think that you are alone. There are so many more out here fighting for. When I fight for me, I fight for you automatically, because I'm fighting for me automatically. the first person you can only fight for is you, right? Because you are who you are always encountering, correct? So your first fight is with self. And if anybody that you meet is negative about self and, just have this negative disposition, realize that is a signal to leave immediately. We got to go on energy. We got to stop going on the social status quo, because I want to get into what is completely on your screen right now, which is the Yeshua Mobile Star Academy. And this class is created, this platform is created to give you the information that you need so you can handle your affairs while these states, these Moroccan states, are being built. Because they need competent Moors, not Moors who like title, not Moors who want power, not Moors who want to be idolized or worshipped, but Moors who are about ending colonialism, ending capitulatory regime, meaning complying to what is there because you don't have your own platform, culture, political affiliation, status, or country to support, defend, protect you. Islam? So what am I saying? I'm saying that everybody we thought we should idolize and worship, they were all agents planted to keep you off of what you should have been on, which is the 4 to 5 treaties. The first treaty is what? Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1786, 1836, still in force today, between the United States of America and the Moroccan Empire, which is what you are descended from. Number 2 is a Treaty of Madrid that was established in 1880, which told Moors, pursuant to Article 15, that they had to reaffirm and declare their independence through a Moroccan state. After that, we got the Treaty of 1906, the Treaty of Algeciras, the General Acts, which told Moors what they needed to do to reestablish independent sovereignty by declaring a Moroccan state and bringing back the Moroccan Empire. Then after that treaty, we got the Treaty of Fez, which is the French Protectorate Treaty. That treaty gave power of attorney to France. Their job wasn't just to monitor and represent the empire. Their job also was to assist the Moors in becoming, hold on, let me mute somebody, in becoming or reestablishing their authority within the Moroccan Empire. That was what the French Protectorate Treaty was supposed to do. But France breached that responsibility. Because, like you should always know, if you're not in control of self, someone else will control you. And because of that power that they now have, they become greedy. France should have never gotten that treaty. The Sultan of Morocco should have did what he was supposed to do. But he was an amalgamated Moor as well. So understand, even though we might like to be outside of ourselves in these relationships, they are to our detriment. Because in the Circle 7 of Quran, because that information is valid in that Circle 7, regardless if it was for the Moorish Science Temple of America, that was supposed to liberate our people by teaching them to be themselves and teaching them what they needed to know. They never did that. They don't do that today. Leave it alone. Let it go. Just like the churches. There are pockets of Moors who identify outside of themselves because of the privilege that they got within that jurisdiction. Leave them there. Many Moors had the opportunity to fix this and to end this, which is fixing it, meaning ending it, and they didn't do it. So leave Malcolm X alone. Leave Martin Luther King alone. Leave Prophet Noble Drew Ali alone. Deal with the information that he left for us to do what it is that we are charged to do as competent heirs to the Moroccan Empire. Now, the last treaty that I didn't mention after the Treaty of Fez was what? The Treaty of Montevideo. That's one other treaty, but the most important treaty was the Treaty of Algeciras, which is from 1906, which told Moors how they were to reestablish independence. And in order to reestablish independence was to create the Moroccan states, right? That's what the Charter of the United Nations, the statutes of the ICJ, that's their whole mission. They derive their authority from the Moroccan treaties because the only reasons they have authority is because the Moors refuse to be themselves and to stop playing the Negro colored and black game and be adults. You can't say you love your children if you don't get into this. You can't say that. You can't even claim that, and I won't even hear it. I'm giving you background on purpose. Because every movie that you watch today is telling you about the United Nations. And I'm not saying that they're not flawless because they're run by Europeans, colonial Europeans who are benefiting off of the fact that you don't want to be yourselves and operate in that harmony. Now let's go over to the entertainment world because everybody, including myself, has been studying it. We're talking about Cat Williams, who I love. Don't get it twisted. I adore him. I adore him not because he makes me laugh, belly laugh, to the point where I feel like I'm about to pass out because he's that funny and real. I'm about real. But because he was willing to say what needed to be said. And he said what needed to be said because our people needed to stop idolizing celebrities because they are the number one paid Negro slave in our communities. Their job is not to support you or liberate you. So stop looking to them for support. They're telling you today that's not why they're here. They were never here for you. They were here for themselves. So the upheaval that's happening within that industry is necessary because the shit rolls downhill. Rolls down, not up. And you're not supposed to idolize or worship rappers or movie stars or singers or any type of celebrity. You're supposed to idolize the people within your community that are trying to help, even if they're ignorant in that aspect. So watch what it is. Only thing that is showing is that you can't idolize or worship them. You never supposed to have been doing that, and you never should have been thinking that they were going to supply something for you. The purpose of tonight's conversation was not to talk about all of that, but it is an introduction to what it is that we need to be participating in. Because what did the France versus United States of America case of 1952 talking about the rights and protections of the United States within Morocco? Because there's many classes and many individuals that are giving classes in this respect, but they're taking too long to get to the damn point. I don't have time. You don't have time. You need this information. You need the knowledge to support, defend not only yourself, because in order to support and defend others, you got to be stationed where you are. So it starts with you. People act like they don't know the law. They do know the law. They don't. They just ignore it when they interface with our people. Because the churches failed us. The temples failed us. The NOI failed us. The NAACP failed us. And everybody else failed us. You shouldn't be looking anywhere for that. You shouldn't even you should be supporting it financially. You know who you should be supporting financially? Yashra Nakasha El Rosbay, because she comes here and tells you what you need to know, not because she has to, but because it is my responsibility to, outside of self. The only way we rise is if we rise together. And the only way we can rise together is if we have the competencies that we need in order to do such. The policy enforcers all over the continent are violating our people because of the ignorance that our people possess. The fact that they don't know that they can smack a false imprisonment claim against them because of their lack of due process. So let's talk about what due process is. What is the definition of due process? And this is my website. If you don't know, it's called YesYourMobileStarAcademy.com. The class assignments you can get into by putting the code in. The code is sent to you. Send an email. I don't want to put it on this public platform because this video will go onto YouTube. If you want the code to get into the class assignments in order to do these courses, you got to come and email me at my email address in order to get that information. A lot of you already have it. Everybody that's on this platform that I'm aware of, you should already have it. But if you don't, send me an email, send me a text message. I will send it to you freely. As well as, I'm always going to give the disclaimer, support me financially. I'm not asking, it's a request. It's actually an order. What you can give, only what you can give, please support it. I have the same Cash App. It never changed. Mac Northeast. That's what it is. MAC Northeast on Cash App. And that's the last time I'm going to promote that because this is my private platform in my private capacity to show you that I need financial support to assist you as well as to assist myself because information is not necessarily free. You have to give energy in order to receive it. Understand the energies that are in part in that. Earlier, I said, stop watching all of these other platforms that ain't telling you the truth. If they didn't give you the 4 treaties and tell you what the 4 treaties are and tell you that the United Nations is the support that we need because they have a contractual obligation through the treaties to support us. And we have to call them on that. But we can't sit here and say on Facebook Lives or YouTube Lives or TikTok or Instagram, oh, we need support. We have to make a proper claim in the proper venue within the proper status in order to be heard in international court. I had to learn this the hard way. When I get my book and I finalize my book, you will learn everything Yeshurun had to do to come to the place that she's at now. I wish I was on the beach. I'm not currently there. That's a filter. I'm at home. What do I mean? Does anybody know what false imprisonment means? But before false imprisonment, I think I made another term, which was due process. So I'm going to go online and look up the definition for due process in the Black's Law Dictionary to see what it is. And if anybody can come to that definition before I do, please raise your hand and I will give you the floor. But in the meantime, I'm going to go to the site because the website has it. It's under, I don't think it's under historical timeline. It might be under erudite lessons, but I have moved so many things on my website. Certain things are not accessible and I haven't moved them back. So I'm going to go into my private file to find what it is that I'm looking for. So be patient and bear with me. So I'm looking in, I'm just going to do a search for Black's Law because I don't feel like looking for it. Hold on. Any other questions while I'm looking for this? Any other questions, any comments that want to be, you have the floor while I'm looking for this definition. I should have been prepared, but you know, I do things on the fly, y'all, because that's just my life right now. Any questions? Anybody got the definition of Black's Law? I should just go online because it's probably easier to go on Black, because you know they have a website called Black's Law Online.
Greetings. Okay. Okay, greetings. This is Mokhtar Bey from Detroit. And how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Oh, that's great. Due process. I just pulled it up. You know, I have my tablet and everything. It says an established course of judicial proceeding or other governmental activities designed to safeguard the legal rights of the individuals. And then number 2, it says a legal concept where a person is ensured all legal rights when deprived of life, liberty, and pursuit to happiness for a given reason. And then number 3, the limit of laws and legal proceedings so as to ensure a person's fairness, justice, and liberty. The American Heritage Dictionary, English Dictionary, 5th edition. My law books is all put up, so I have my tablet, but this is what I pulled up when I went online.
Islam.
It's not.
Now, I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but I'm going to see if I can switch it over. Here we go. I think this is it, due process. Do y'all see due process of law definition, legal meaning?
Oh,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Islam. So I'm going to read this definition. Law in its regular course of administration through courts of justice, not incompetent courts like magistrates or lower municipal courts. We talking about actual courts, district court or above. Due process of law in each particular case means such an exercise of powers of the government as the settled maxims of law pursuant or permit and sanction, right? And under such safeguards for the protection of individual rights as those maxims prescribed for the class of cases to which the one in question belongs. Whatever difficulty may be experienced in giving to those terms a definition, which will embrace every permissible exertion of power affecting private individuals and exclude such as in forbidden, there can be no doubt of their meaning when applied to judicial proceedings. They then mean a course of legal proceedings according to those rules and principles which have been established in our systems of jurisprudence, which is law, for the enforcements and protections of private rights. To give such proceedings any validity, there must be a tribunal competent by its constitution. The Constitution we're referring to, the United States of America Constitution, 1791, 10 Bill of Rights. Every other Bill of Rights after the 10 Bill of Rights is a private contract and is based on private and admiralty law. So what they're telling you is a competent jurisdiction. Now, you do know when you go into these municipal court proceedings held by a magistrate, they are incompetent and inferior courts. They're not recorded, even though they're recorded. It's not law, it's a private contract. Moors, you are considered as a status, not necessarily a Black person, that's just what they call you. You are a protege. Does anybody know what the definition of a protege is? Because sometimes these words ain't in this dictionary. Let me just be real with you. A protege is someone under the tutelage of another, a superior. The basic definition of what a protege is. And in international law, a protege is an individual under the jurisdiction of not necessarily their own culture, but another culture. So let's look at an example. Black people, because they don't have an identity outside of themselves, because there is no Black country, there's no Black continent, there's no Black earth. So it is a misnomer, meaning something people identify in, but internationally, it is not an identity. It is a stateless person. That's what a protege is. Moors who identify as Black, Negro, and color, African American, and any other African continents that have not declared and claimed their independence through international law are proteges. So this is why these individuals don't come over here and help you, because they have declared their allegiance to the United States of America because they have gotten green cards, visas, passports, citizenship. If you've declared yourself in a political platform, meaning I declare I am a United States citizen, I adhere to the laws of the United States. Most Black people, Negro, and Americans have not done this with clarity of mind. When you go to school and you sit here and you say the Pledge of Allegiance, that is a misnomer. That is a fraud, because you were not given the information that you needed to be given in order to say, I pledge my allegiance to the United States of America, for which I stand. It's fraud. You are not an American. You are a Moor. American was established, that country was established as a commercial venue in 1791. Because these Europeans that are part of that particular organization came from Europe. That means they were what? Dutch. They were There's seven of them. I can never think of them at the time that I'm thinking of them.
Was they British?
British, Poland, Irish, Scottish,
Portuguese.
Portugal, like all of these things. That was the original purpose of them because they were expatriating from their country, which was Europe, under the British rulership. And I love where I am at this place because we were not here a year ago. We were not here 2 years ago. Because a lot of people out there putting videos out there are lying to you because they are getting paid to lie to you. Let it go, leave it alone, keep it moving. Don't need to name them, don't need to talk about them. You already know who they are. Ain't even no need to address it. The Treaty of Algiers told Moors how they were to reestablish independence. We got to come together, Moors, not only with each other here on this continent, but with our so-called, and I put air quotes and kill brackets, African countries, because it's not called an African country. It's called Cameroon, Nigeria, Liberia. These people have identities that don't pigeonhole them into the African identity because that is just another misnomer, just like Black is and Puerto Rican is, and even white is a misnomer. Doesn't identify the people in their political and cultural and civic perceptions, right?
Islam,
So,
it does not have a nationality.
right, your nationality plants you firmly on land, and land has a name, and our name is Moor, right? So in these classes, I'm going to give you the foundations for what you need because you need competencies. But at the end of the day, because based on France versus United States of America in 1952, Moors lost their identity as well as lost their sovereignty by acting as if they were not Moors and they were Negro colored Black African Americans. So because of that lack of identity, they were under the jurisdiction because of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, Article 22, 21, and 20, as well as the Treaty of Madrid, Article 15. Now, there's some Moors that talk about, well, the Treaty of Madrid, Article 15, was annexed. The Kingdom of Morocco did not have the authority to do any of that. And no one can deny you, based on international law, your identity. That's with what? What treaty or convention talks about that? The Convention on Indigenous, the rights of the
United Nations.
indigenous, the rights of the child.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about you have the right to a nationality. So the Treaty of Peace and the Treaty of Madrid 1880, Article 15, could never be annexed, even though the Kingdom of Morocco, the Sultan at that time, he put a notification in, but he had already relinquished his authority with establishing the Kingdom of Morocco, which is an international state. And its jurisdictions are fixed on the territory for which they claimed. And it's not all of Morocco. It's just a little teeny tiny piece of Morocco over there in South Africa. If I'm not mistaken, do not quote me on that. I
West.
had a European colonialized education. So please forgive me for the mishaps that I may present because I was educated by the Albion, like everyone on this platform. Right? So they don't have the authority. So after the Sultan created the Kingdom of Morocco, he lost the authority to rule over anything internationally outside of the jurisdiction for which he claimed, which was only the Kingdom of Morocco. That little piece, if you look at the current modern day maps, is a little teeny tiny piece. That's the only thing that he has authority to change. Can't change nothing in terms of the empire, which means it's open for Moors to declare and declaim and proclaim their independence. Are you with me so far?
Yes,
I know I'm saying
Islam.
a lot.
No,
We'll
no,
ask this over again.
Wow, you're perfect.
no. Actually, you've been over this before.
I've been over it so many times, it's insane.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember it.
Once you declare and proclaim your independence through a Moroccan state, you no longer identify or are held to the jurisdictions of the colonial state at all. You are a Moroccan national. Now, the treaties, international law, all of these things, as well as the constitutions between the states, are attributed to you. But we got to realize we have so many of our brothers and sisters who are ignorant still and who capitulate still, which means they adhere to the jurisdiction of the United States of America under the so-called citizenship under the United States, which are the proteges, right?
So we got to keep hammering it in.
Got to keep hammering it in. We got to start in this next season when the season hits, when the new year starts, which is March 21st. We need to start putting it out there. Now, because of a lot of the Negroes that are trying to act like they're Moors, because I don't call you a Moor unless you're operating as a Moor, meaning you telling the people what they need to know. And if you know it, you need to tell it, period. So I don't call them that. I don't give a damn if they wear a turban, a fez, got the nice little Moor costumes on. But if they are not operating as a Moor, they're costumes and they're trying to play you. That's why it's so important for you to know the knowledge. That's why it's so important you to know. So you know who those Negroes are. You ain't got to point them out. You ain't even got to talk about them. You know who they are based on your competency levels, right?
Islam.
So I just wanted to give you some basics. So due process is this. A policy enforcer, which we identify falsely as a police officer, because an officer is someone who has authority appointed to them pursuant to the Constitution. Outside of that, they are an employee or an agent. They don't have any authority without a court order. And a court order means this is what I'm telling you, and my authority extends to you based on this order. But if I never given such order, they are rogue. They are terrorists. They are outside of law. They are not participating in due process, meaning Constitution lays it all out. If you have an issue with me, your first responsibility is to come to me to try to remedy it, because adults are supposed to be able to air out their differences and grievances appropriately and lawfully. Well, if they can't be adults and they're still acting as minors and children, well, then you have to add an intermediary. But before you add an intermediary, give 30 days to the initial complaint to say, look, you wronged me and this is what I want for the wrong. If they acquiesce, meaning they don't reply, or if they reply in the negative, your next responsibility pursuant to due process is to initiate proceedings in a competent court of law, not the magistrates, not the commonwealths or the common pleas, but in district court, because district court can only hear, or courts above, contractual obligations pursuant to the Constitution. Everybody else are enacting statutes, codes, and rules. Now, here's the question, because a lot of administrators or so-called judges, but they're only ministerial agents, meaning they're not judges. They call themselves judges, but they really are not. They're only a judge if you give them the authority to be that by your appointment only. Right? They'll say, oh, you got to follow the rules of court. No, I don't have to follow the rules of court. You have to follow the rules of court because you are an employee of court. But they try to act like you acquiesced or you submitted to jurisdiction. So if you've not submitted to jurisdiction, you do not have to follow the rules of court, even though they will try every time to do this. Now, we've been trying to fight them on their own playing field, but we realize they're crooks, criminals, and thieves and terrorists. We cannot do that, and I don't even suggest you to do it. But in the meantime, put the paperwork in, file it, because it's evidence. So when you go to the proper court venue, right? Because they're going to act that way. Oh, you have to do this. You have to file a motion. You have to file a summons. No, I'm not submitting to jurisdiction, so why would I have to file those things? Islam? I'm muting people because, you should be muted until you want to talk, or I open up the floor for you to talk.
Islam. So the only court we have any business is those appointed by Congress, correct?
District courts. You shouldn't be in the lower courts.
That's what I'm saying.
But don't get it twisted. They'll try to push you into the lower courts because they'll try to say that those courts you appeal to those courts. There's a pecking order in fact. What happened? Hold on for a second.
Correct.
Yeah, still there?
Islam, I'm here. Brother Mokhtar from Detroit.
Brother Banks Bay from Detroit.
Good to meet you, brother.
So,
Good to meet you.
I'm sorry I had an emergency, you know. So, like, my job is this. What is the biggest issue confronting our people today? The unlawfulness of stops, interrogations, questions, or when you're traveling, right? That's the biggest issue that our people feel, our people encounter, my son included. I don't play these games. I'm here to get this shit done, to end it. I'm not here to fucking make friends. I'm here to do what an adult does, right? What am I saying? False imprisonment. Let's get back to false imprisonment. Do y'all know what that word means?
Islam, Brother Mokhtar. False imprisonment means that there was documents hypothecated and they lied and created false charges against the estate and threw the Moor in jail.
Okay, so give me an example. I want to see if you really know, because due process means they have to follow the rules of law because that is what they are bonded on, meaning they're only bonded from personal prosecution if they follow the law. If they do not follow the law, now they can be held civilly in a private claim against the offender. That means the policy enforcer who offended for false imprisonment. And because they have insurance and they're bonded through the companies that they work, that company will have to pay for that because they were on their time when it happened. So that's how it bleeds into departments, right? Right?
Yes, yes.
So my point is this. False imprisonment is a class that I gave over 6 months ago. The documents are here on this website. If you are not looking at it, under the Yes Your Mobile Star Academy website, and the documents, everything, including the videos, are here to give you the basics of it. And I implore everybody who watches this video to come to this YesYourMobileStarAcademy.com website, go to class assignments, and go to false imprisonment and do the study. What I'm talking here is not a class. This is just an overview because I haven't seen you for a long time. I've missed you, and y'all need this information because you're worrying about the wrong things. The UCCs, 1099s, the secure party creditors, that's not going to pay your bills, y'all. You're wasting your time. However, you need to know these processes for your own edification, right? So what am I saying? Knowledge is power. You feel like you have no power because we're not wielding it. And we're allowing our own people who've taken the bribes, who've taken the money, who've taken the privilege, who've taken the status to deceive you. Know that when you see it. Because what is false imprisonment? Does anybody know the definition of it?
Well,
Tell me, what is it?
I could pull it up online. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Islam, you can hear me?
I hear you. Islam.
Well, there's no corpus delicti.
That is not what the definition of a false imprisonment is. A corpus delicti is an injured party. We're talking about the definition of what false imprisonment means.
Islam.
Okay.
I have the definition here. Can y'all hear me?
It's Islam Razin, please, you have the floor. Everybody yell to Razin.
Islam. All right. False imprisonment. The unlawful arrest or detention of a person without warrant or by an illegal warrant or a warrant legally executed, either in a prison or a place used temporarily for that purpose or by force and constraint without confinement. Sec 2. False imprisonment consists in the unlawful detention of the person of the person of another for any length of time, whereby he is deprived of his personal liberty. Like 3, the unlawful detention of the occupant of an automobile may be accomplished by driving so rapidly that he cannot alight, meaning escape or get out. And the last part, the term is also used as the name of the action which lies for this species of injury. I don't know what that means. I yield. Yield.
I think George had made Mike on.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, we got quiet.
She
Everybody there?
probably got to come. She probably got to chime back in. You know?
My apologies. I didn't unmute my mic. Give me a second. Islam Razin, you did a great job in giving the definition of false imprisonment. This is what I want you guys to know. The most important elemental fact of what a false imprisonment is. Unlawful detention or deprivation of rights or liberty. And the basis of an action for the tort of false imprisonment. There's only 2 elements that have to be met, y'all. For you to file a civil claim in district court for false imprisonment against any policy enforcers that violated your due process of law. That's really what I'm saying. Number 1, detention or restraint against your will. So if you're detained and you do not wish to be detained, that's part of the elements of false imprisonment. The unlawfulness of such a detainment or restraint. Now, what makes a restraint or detainment unlawful? When they didn't have probable cause or a warrant. They have to have probable cause or a warrant.
Islam. No probable cause is not, and a false imprisonment, probable cause doesn't even fit in there. They have to have a warrant, due process. Islam.
So what am I saying? I'm going to give you an example. You're traveling your conveyance or you're walking, minding your own business.
You can't hear you, Islam. You can't hear you.
So let's take an example. Let's use 2 examples.
You blanked out.
Traveling in your mode of conveyance or walking on the sidewalks. You're accosted, meaning an albion, or not necessarily an albion, a policy enforcer, whether they're black or white, stops you. And 9 times out of 10, they're already coming, guns drawn, pushing you to the ground, already violating you from the door, from the rip. Get out your feelings, get out your emotional, cognitive dissonance. Be in that moment. Find out who is violating you. Get names, get badge numbers, right?
That's all.
Try to get to that point where you're memorizing this information, right? Because this is the information part of what you need to put your claim in. Because what is essential for the claim? What, who, where, how, when, and why? The biggest argument is this: false imprisonment, overuse, abuse of power, assault and battery,
insidious,
trespass. These are all part of your actions in civil court. Morris, we got to get to the point of doing this because they're not going to start freaking profiling you until you learn what it is your law is. And don't think it's just them. Mom from the divine mother is trying to tell you, you need to know the law, because the only reason, the way you can protect yourself in your community is knowing that. But until you start knowing it, I'm gonna keep letting those albions fuck with you. Because you where they making their money. Let me tell you, my mom made me. I'm fire, man. And sometimes I burn motherfuckers that don't need it. But I need to show you this because in a lot of your lives, you don't have mothers and fathers and family members that's telling you what's right. They telling you to capitulate. They telling you that, okay, that's just how it is. No, the fuck it ain't how it is. It's how we've been allowing it to be through our ignorance. That's just who I am. Right? Got a question?
Islam, I have an interesting definition for false imprisonment, and it says law in parentheses, then it says confinement without legal authority. Now, I pulled that up from the American Heritage Dictionary, and it says law with parentheses, and then it says confinement without authority, without legal authority. You there?
I'm writing it down because that was good.
All right, thanks. And I also wanted to make something else clear. When they commit false imprisonment, they're also committing insidious rebellion. That's creating soldiers, and that's illegal. And that could give them 20 years to life in prison because we know.
Send me the regulations for that.
Okay, I will. And it also because what happened to me is when they put me in there, they put their central intelligence on me like they do everybody, which came out in Congress by Congresswoman Miss Bass. She talked about how they was targeting us and everything. And when by the time, I mean, it was torture to me because it felt like there was an entity inside of me pulling at my brain and everything. And
it's a possibility, and I'm gonna tell you why. Not to cut your wisdom, but I don't want you to go down the rabbit hole because we do that. I'm gonna tell you why. Our people have, because of their cognitive dissonance and their capitulation regime, we've allowed them, we've given consent for them to do studies on us. So whatever technology that they're trying to introduce, they're doing that study on Asiatics. Because they can. Because our people don't fight against it. And we don't have that support internationally or nationally to stop them from doing it. So we're kind of like, what's the word I want to say? We're a pool of slaves that they can pull from whenever they want.
Right. They're cop killers when they do that to us because what it is I think that's the reason why cops is getting shot out on the streets and people just walking up to their cars and just shooting them. Because for another thing, I was walking home from the store with a shopping cart because my truck was down and they said, okay, a meeting, we all could take the baskets home. So the police pulled over and tried to get me to take my basket back to the store. So I told them about the policy of the Myers, and they still wanted me to take it back and assumed I was a black man. I told them I ain't black and everything. Then I told them what the jails be doing, and that's why people is shooting them. This cop got on the speaker and he called something in and he pulled off real fast.
Let me tell you something.
Because I told
it is a new hold on. It is a new age for policy enforcers. They have to be mindful for the things that they do because they never know when they're going to interface with someone who's competent or not. Now, hold on. There's for the past couple of weeks or months, there's been so many cases. Man, I'm going to create a template, but I'm gonna charge y'all for that because y'all making me do all the work. Y'all gonna pay for it. Period. Point blank. If I got to put the template in for you to say it, even though there is a template in the false imprisonment treaty, there's a template that shows you how to start the claim if you have a situation. Now, understand they have something called the statutes of limitation. Does that apply to you? Because a statute is not law, right? If you have the information and you have the evidence to support it, there's no such thing as statute of limitations on you. You can only deny it by capitulatory regime, by acquiescing. Islam? I was like, so realize that if you have all the elements and all the evidence to things that happen to you, including myself, because I've dealt with so much, lost so much.
18 months.
I've lost so much, and trust me, there's going to be payment for that. Right?
I remember it.
Trust me, let me tell you, I'm still trying to fight back. I'm still Overstand this break, this 6-month break or 5, I don't even know how many months it's been, has been because I need to get shit together for me, mentally, spiritually, right? And certain things have happened in the past couple of months that say, yes, you got to get back out there and you got to start doing classes again. Because nobody's telling these people what they need to know, the way they need to know it, and to give it to them the way they need to hear it. Everybody's talking sideways, everybody. But that's because there's not enough of us women that's talking about it.
I appreciate
not many. Right? So false imprisonment, we know to be detention or restraint against one's will and the unlawful or detention of such restraint. And then just like the Moore said, confinement without legal authority. Overstand, a policy enforcer is an agent to the courts. Their answer is to the courts. They only can bring you to the court. They have no authority on their own. But because so many of us have been capitulating to them, contracting with them because we want to go back to work, we want to come home, we want to do all of these things, and they do these things and put you in harsh and uncomfortable positions to get you to do that. That's how they make money. They steal your shit off on the roads. They don't give you your stuff back. They cannot take anything from you without a warrant. They don't have authority on their own. They are employees. They have to get orders to do any and everything, but they have not been operating in that fashion because we have been capitulating to them and acquiescing to their authority, for which they don't have without an order. So you got to look at them as a regular person, but yeah, they got cuffs, they got pepper spray, they got stun guns, they have a concealed weapon, or it's not necessarily concealed because it's on their hip. You know they got it. But the knowledge of law is supposed to comfort you, right? Supposed to comfort you. Now, if you're looking at this website where I'm putting as much information as I can on the site, there's homework assignments. Obviously, I got to update this. So if something missing, please send me an email because I'm doing many things at one time. But the one thing I wanted to show you was what? Certain things that are on the site for your own view. No one shall be arrested or imprisoned but by the law of the land. That's the Constitution, y'all, not statutes, not codes or rules of court. Because in order for rules of court to apply to you, you got to submit to jurisdiction. But overstand, they have a limited jurisdiction over the Moors because of the France versus United States case of 1952, which gave them limited jurisdiction over the Moors, who are identified as proteges because they have not declared to claim their independence through a Moroccan state. This is called the common law, and it is made constitutional law by the due process of law. So they can't do stuff to you, even though they're doing it. You're not fighting against it.
This class helped me.
Right? So let's talk about a valid warrant. Right? Because they'll sit here and say, oh, we got a warrant for your arrest. Show me the warrant. They have to show it to you guys. They're supposed to have it in the vicinity of which they are to show it to you so you can inspect it. Because without that warrant, they have no authority. And without that warrant, they're trespassing. So what are the elements, the 7 elements of a valid warrant? 1, must be issued by a judicial officer and signed by him. No stamp, no missing signature, has to be stamped. And it's supposed to be validated by a freaking notary to make sure that that signature is authenticated, meaning it is the signature of the judicial officer who officiated it, not a clerk of court or somebody who got their stamp and stamped it. They're not even supposed to have a stamp. It's supposed to be a signature. 2, it must state the facts that show the matter to be within the jurisdiction of the judicial officer issuing it. So they have to have jurisdiction over the subject matter. It has to be listed on the freaking warrant, y'all. A lot of times they sit here and say, oh, we got a warrant, but they don't have nothing. they're seeing what you agree to.
So what they mean?
Number 3, it cannot be based on belief or suspicion, but upon probable cause. They have to witness you enacting into a felony. They have to see something or have a witness who saw something. It can't be, oh, we think, oh, he was swerving, or oh, he seems suspicious, or oh, he ran. It's not probable cause, baby. Law is
Islam.
absolute and specific.
That is hey, since you hit
Let
on
me finish. Number 4. Let me finish. Number 4.
man.
It must list a complaint. It must list a complaint. The complaint is the grievance. It is the charge. They can't say, oh, I got a warrant and I got to detain your cell phone or your iPad or your motor vehicle or your undisclosed anything. That complaint got to say what the fuck I'm charged with. Completely. It has to say it because you have the right to defend yourself and you can't defend yourself pursuant to the Constitution of the United States of America because your protege is under that jurisdiction.
So you got to use it.
Has to say it because you have the right to defend yourself. And the only way you can defend yourself is if you know what the fuck you're being charged with. Right? And state the offense committed and the facts that constitute the crime. So they got to submit all of that to you before they try to search anything and it be lawful. Number 5, the warrant is to be supported with oath and affirmation, i.e. a signed affidavit made under oath by the person making the charge. Trying to tell y'all, policy enforcers can't make the charge for you. They're an agent to the court. That's a breach of contract. That's a breach of what's the word I'm looking? A conflict of interest. How are you sitting here, the one initiating the complaint, and you're an agent to the same? Number 6, it must name the person to be arrested or describe the place to be searched or thing to be seized. They can't just sit here and not have a specific, like, okay, it got to say it's for this person or it's invalid. And you don't have to honor it or adhere to it. And number 7, the warrant must command the arrest and to be brought before the magistrate. They can't arrest you with a warrant, hold you for like 10 hours, and then let you go and you ain't never seen a magistrate. The purpose of you even being arrested was to go in front of the magistrate because that is authority, not the policy enforcer. So if you've been detained and you never went in front of the magistrate and they released you and you never had any claims or any warrant, you better file a false imprisonment claim and you better get $1 million.
That's right.
Asiatics be broke. Asiatics be wanting money. It's the best way to get money. They pulling you over to get money. Fucking file this lawfully to get money.
Hey, my status correction, it say $1 million per day.
Right.
Okay.
Per day.
Understand. This is very, very important. Now, that was a valid warrant. Let's talk about arrests without warrant. What elements have to be met with an arrest without a warrant? The arresting agent, because they're not officers, must witness a felony in progress. That's the part where they have to have probable cause. That's kind of the same example of probable cause. So they can only get a warrant on probable cause because they saw something happening. So they stopped you, detained you. They can't search you before they get the warrant. They got to hold you, get the warrant. So now they got authority to search you or to apprehend you. Number 2, the arresting agent must witness a breach of the peace. What is a breach of the peace? Does anybody know what the hell the breach of the peace means?
Islam, Razine Bay.
Islam.
Yes, breach of the peace, a violation or disturbance of the public tranquility and order. Shall I continue?
No, I think that's good. Because everybody needs to do their homework. Write those definitions down. You're not going to absorb this information unless you study. I'm trying to tell you, you can watch videos all day long, but as soon as you're in that situation, you're going to lose it all. You're going to lose it all if you do not study, right? So what it's saying is this: the arresting agent must witness a felony in progress, because they can only be a complainant if they witnessed it. You got to see something. You can't just sit here and be like, oh, I think he did something. Oh, well, if you don't have any evidence, any probable cause, then you can't, I'm not issuing this warrant. Because if they issued a warrant and they didn't have that, now the judge is on the hook for it. He's added to the claim because he issued a warrant without probable cause. Number two, the arresting agent must witness a breach of the peace. A breach of the peace is, okay, you driving erratically. That's not necessarily a breach of the peace, because what does it mean to be driving erratically? They got to identify that. Or, you're screaming. Now, a good example of breach of the peace. Say you're outside in a public forum and you and your girlfriend are arguing and getting so irate. That's a breach of the peace, because you're violating other people around you's peace. So a policy enforcer could come up to you and say, stop talking loudly and calm down. And that would be the end of it. No more authority. But if you consist into, let's say, getting physical, well, now there's a felony, right? And they've witnessed that felony. So now they can detain you, get a warrant, and hold you. Actually, they can detain you, put you in a precinct, and then have you go in front of the magistrate for breaching the peace, because they were a witness to that. But if they came after the fact, all they can do is sit there and hope something happens. But if it's already over and done with, they no longer have authority. So what it says is this does not include misdemeanor citations. Misdemeanor citations is not a breach of the peace. It's never been that in law. Never. So when if they pull you over for a so-called driving infraction, that's a misdemeanor. They can't. No, that's not probable cause. And they can't arrest you without a warrant. That's what they're trying to tell you. So if you get arrested in that situation, false imprisonment. Because a misdemeanor citation is a municipal code violation. It's not a violation of law, which would be a felony. Civil matters that are not arrestable offenses pursuant to the law of the land, due process of law, common law, and constitutional law, which all mean literally the same thing. So what am I telling you? We've been played. But who we've been played by? Our own people, because our people should have been teaching us this. But a lot of our people have gotten privileged statuses to keep us in blind obedience. That's Al Sharpton. That's Jesse Jackson. That's all of our so-called leaders and the people that we look up to. Every last one of them, down to Jay-Z, all of them. They got a privilege. They're Negroes and slaves just like anybody else. They've had to do some things just like anybody else. Any questions? Open to the floor.
Islam. It's Mokhtar from Detroit. I just wanted to also mention it's not only breaching the peace, it's breaching the public safety and breaching the public trust also. I was just thinking about that. I yield the floor.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge
the policy enforcers violate our people because we scared of them, because we think they're going to shoot us. No, they're not. If you stay calm and you stay on law and you sit here and tell them what they need to hear, you'll get left. Islam.
Can you hear me?
Did you have something to say, or you just came in? Islam.
Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, you didn't say anything. What's up, Arnaz?
I thought I was trying. Oh, I said, this is Arnaz. I just went to court a couple days ago, and I made the judge walk off the bench because he tried to. I found the law. It's called I think it's like Title 1515. It tells you that the magistrates can only hear summary offenses, and it tells you the type of summary offenses that they can hear, and the only misdemeanor offenses they can hear are like fishing and some bull crap like that, but they can't hear felonies. They can't hear none of them type of crimes at a magistrate hearing. They don't have jurisdiction. It's called 1515. Let me look for it real quick. I got
Just
it right here.
Look for it. Send me the link in the email. because you got
Okay,
the
yeah,
email
I'll
for the
send it to
link for
you.
this class. Send it to me. And you're right, because they don't have authority, because they're incompetent courts, because they don't know law, or
Yeah,
they
they
don't
don't.
exercise it, right? Because their
Yeah,
courts are not subject matter. They don't have subject matter. What you just said is they don't have subject matter of the case nor personam,
nor persona. Nope, because he asked me
right?
to approach. Yeah, he asked me to approach the bench. I said, no, I can't approach the bench. That would give you jurisdiction. I'm just here on special appearance visitation for the incorporated name up there. Now I'm asking you, do you have jurisdiction over the living, breathing human being, me, or do you have jurisdiction over the case? Which one of you? What? He was so confused, he walked off the bench.
Right, but don't get it twisted. Because they're criminals, and their job, and the only way they make money is by violating our people, because
Yeah,
we are the money here in this jurisdiction, because all they want is access to your estate so they can move the money, right? And they can go and take shit and take money out for their fees, right? That you don't think,
yeah,
you might think they $200, $300, $1,000. They $1 million fees that they're getting,
yeah,
or maybe at least $1,000 fees. I don't know. Nobody knows, but who cares? We're gonna get our own jurisdiction and make them pay taxes. So now we're in the driver's seat of our nation versus in the passenger seat, or
yeah.
in the nosebleeds.
So I got him. I'm gonna send a link to you and show you this. It's called jurisdiction 1515.
But just
He denied my
realize,
motion.
of course, he's gonna deny your motion, because a motion is asking for permission. Even though they'll sit here and say, oh, the rules of court are you got to file a motion or a petition. Well, I'm not admitting to the jurisdiction of your court. So now you're saying in order to challenge jurisdiction, I have to admit to jurisdiction in order to challenge it. Come on. Right?
It's definitely a
I'm never
game
going
that
to
he
tell you
playing.
not to file anything. You just want to make sure you put that disclaimer. I am not in this, the presentment that I am filing on behalf of myself or my property or whatever is under threat, duress, or coercion, and by no means is it consenting to the jurisdiction of the court. You put that disclaimer in there, you're good. For whatever petition you file or motion
Writ of quo warrantor.
I'm not gonna say writ of quo warranto, right? Because I want to tell you, Moors, pursuant to France versus United States of America, Moors are subject who don't have allegiance to a Moroccan state, pursuant to international law, subject to the limited jurisdiction of United States of America. Be clear with that. But while you are submitted to that jurisdiction, you have rights nonetheless. And those rights are in the Constitution. Those rights are in the due process. So make sure you know it. Just like the brother was talking about 1515. Because a lot of people are saying, oh, you're not in their jurisdiction. Hell to the no, yes, you are. Because you've never claimed your independence to a Moroccan state. The Treaty of Algiers is very plain in its presentment. I'm talking about false imprisonment today because this is what you need today. You can file these claims today to rebut the false civil or criminal complaints they're putting against you. And they breach due process. So when they breach due process, that's automatically means you got a false and they detained you unlawfully without any due process. That's false imprisonment, y'all. 2 million. I wouldn't even go lower than 2 million. 2 million. I want 2 million for you violating me. Putting this false claim on me. Because once they put that false claim on you, they run a background check. They see that shit. Now it's messing with your money. It's messing with your ability to contract for a job until we get access to our estate through the legitimate and lawful means of international court by putting our consular court orders in.
We better add messed up our reputation then.
Absolutely. Defamation of character.
That's right. We need to add
because
that.
you put information out there that was false and misleading. And because of that, I've lost a lot of abilities to make finances. And this is what I'm used to making. So this is what I want from you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? We got 10 minutes. So it's open floor, open mic, 10 minutes because we gonna end at 8 o'clock.
Islam. I was wondering, I thought all those courts was all closed down anyway. They just doing Zoom apps.
Nope.
A lot of them are doing Zoom apps, but they do still hold courts in the physical. It depends on the jurisdiction, it depends on the state, and it depends on their finances, for real, for real. If they can get people to come in, you know what I'm saying?
That's
So it depends on a multitude of things.
right. They said they needed everybody's consent to do those Zoom calls and everything. To me, they're just private corporations masquerading around as courts.
They
said,
are. They've always been
That's
that,
what
though.
it is. Municipal
give
corporation.
me anxiety. They be giving me anxiety.
That they be giving you anxiety.
Yeah, well, that's what I normally tell them, you know, whenever I write to them, that they're private corporation. It's a private corporation, and I'll recognize them, and they're giving me anxiety, you know, because I don't understand why they're writing me and their order is.
They're causing anxiety. They're causing trauma. They're causing an affliction that you need to be compensated financially for. Absolutely.
Yes, I had that too.
Absolutely. Because understand, what was their position? What did the Treaty of Peace and Friendship Article 22 says? Does anybody know what that said?
I believe it's if a more hurt you.
Nope, that's not it. That's 21 or 20.
Okay,
Yeah, that's 21.
Go to the historical shucks. It might not be there, and I ain't even gonna front because I done changed so much stuff around. I probably won't even be able to pull it. But if I go to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, it might not come up because I moved so much stuff around. Oh, nope, it's not there. Okay. I mean, you can always go to Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Hold on. Just type in your Google Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and then something will come up, and then you go to Article 20. Hold on. Article 22. Give me a second, y'all. Y'all trying to over talk me. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Y'all see my screen?
Yep.
Article 22.
Yep.
Does anybody want to read it? I mean, I can read it if you don't.
I'm traveling right now.
I read it.
Who said that Islam? I'll read it. Who?
Razine.
All right, hold on. Let me mute everybody else while you read it, because everybody like to talk. Go ahead.
22, you said, right? If an American citizen shall die in our country and no will shall appear, the consul shall take possession of his effects. And if there shall be no consul, the effects shall be deposited in the hands of some person worthy of trust until the party shall appear who has a right to demand them. But if the heir to the person deceased be present, the property shall be delivered to him without interruption. And if a will shall appear, property shall descend agreeable to that will as soon as the consul shall declare the validity thereof.
Y'all understand what that says? Y'all understand what he just read? If you don't, I'm going to make it clear. That is a declaration of trust in that Article 22. It's a will as well. So this pretty much is the treaty, even though they try to use 20 and 21 in the Treaty of Peace and the France versus United States of America. But the United States of America was given limited jurisdiction in civil and criminal cases because there was no other opposing party. The Moors were absent when that case was heard. So that's why Article 22 gave American limited jurisdiction over the Moroccan Empire, because the Moors were still asleep, and this treaty is a trust and a declaration of trust, giving the United States of America authority over us in criminal and civil cases, y'all. That's why they can do what they do to us. But even though they can have limited jurisdiction, they still got to follow the rules of court, as well as due process in the Constitution. Right? Any other questions?
Islam. 33 Michigan prisons were shut down and everything. Also, the FBI been going in there breaking up some LSD that's been pushed through the jails. and it was linked back to this security guard in those private prisons and jails, because the LSD and stuff, as we know, lysergic acid dealify, it causes it helps open the mind up to the voices and all that, which could be linked back to AI, and you could find that in a case called Catterburn versus the United States. Also, Cyrus A. Purser versus Google also talks about that too. Now, as far as AI and all that other stuff, now as far as the LSD, that's one of the leading components which opens us up to all of that. And the FBI has been going in there and making some arrests, and they also dealt with the same issue back in the 60s. And that is going on today, in reference to what's going on in those jails. So not only with, it's an internal revenue issue because of the taxes, it's also an FBI issue because of the LSD that's been going on in those jails. And then the purpose of it was to get us not only talking to ourselves, but talking out in public. And
well, you got to realize, not to cut your wisdom, because we only got 3 minutes. You have to realize that jails are privately owned, most of them. Mm-hmm. And their purpose is to either do research and development on us or to make money off of us through whatever it is that we do within those jails. As well as the fact that you're in there, you're no longer administering your own estate, right? Your own affairs. But majority of Moors haven't been, because they've been capitulating to the United States and been acquiescing everything that they actually own. So realize that going forward. So when I say these things, prisons have always been doing that. The FBI has always been aware of that, always. And they all are in cahoots, even though they try to make it seem like they're out there to try to help you. So with that, I do want to yield the class, because we did talk about
get in the tub first.
Huh? What you say,
Islam,
John?
go ahead. I was talking to my daughter. We just got out of track practice, so I was just talking to my daughter, but my bad.
No problems. So over Stanton, this was the first class. I want you to go over what I am requiring you to do is go over the first couple of chapters of the treaty, not the treaty, the document that we were going over, which is under, I don't want to go there. I want to go here. Class imprisonment, false imprisonment. I need y'all to go through this, because this is going to give you the information that you need so you can stand on the laws and the fundamentals that you need to stand on. And if you see the subsequent classes, we got false imprisonment here. We got secure transactions here to secure the things that you do have if you own anything. We got treaty series here that goes over those treaties to help you get through that class. Criminal procedures have not begun, and neither has international law, because y'all got to get the fundamentals for how you support and defend yourself while you are learning the things that you need to learn. So with that being said, my question is, for the last 60 seconds of this class, who knows the Moorish national prayer from Prophet Noble Ali, and who is willing to say it before we close? I know Razine knows it, but let's see who's willing to self-elect to say the Moorish national prayer from Prophet Noble Ali. And
God dog, no volunteers. Allah. First, Father of love, truth. Go ahead.
You started. You listen.
Go ahead. You got it.
Allah, the Father of the universe, Father, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen.
Islam. Go ahead, Mark Adams. Go ahead. I found it, y'all.
Because
like I said, everything is right there for you to grasp, because everything is on the internet, y'all. All y'all got to do is do Google search, and y'all will literally find it on Google search. And I thank you for being a part of this class. We will have another class next Thursday, same time, 6:30 to 7 to 8 o'clock, hour and a half. I don't want to do 2 hours because I don't want to overwhelm your pineal gland. I want it to, come together the way it needs to come. Obviously, if you have any love for Yesha and Akasha Elrose Bay, please send donations to Cash App Mac Northeast, Cash App Mac Northeast. Definitely donations are welcome, appreciated, and needed. And with that, this class will be uploaded on the YouTube channel tonight or tomorrow, for which you will get an email to link to it so you can do your independent study, because I implore you to learn what it is that you need to learn, because at the end of this class, we are going to show you how to file that false imprisonment claim so you can start initiating the process of holding these policy enforcers accountable for their unlawfulness and their lack of due process. And they need to be held accountable because that's the only way for which they will stop violating our people. Islam, you guys, you have a great evening. I'll see you on Facebook. I'll see you on Instagram, and I'll see you in the emails. And don't forget, for the individuals that I asked you to send me emails, please send them to me so I can do the research on the information that you presented. Peace and love, y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Peace and love.
Islam.
Thank you.